some samples, some wall walkers, and Chic-fil-a today on another episode of the Bible in 1 Year with the Preacher's Husband. Today we are going through Nehemiah chapter 11 through 13, and we're also going to do Psalm 126. Now tomorrow we're going to end the Old Testament with the book of Malachi, chapter 1 through 4. That's the whole thing, and that means in 2 days will be in the New Testament. So let's dive in chapter 11 in Nehemiah, right? So here in the beginning in verses 1 and 2 of chapter 11, the author returns to the Nehemiah memoir, so to speak, and the narrative about the repopulation of Jerusalem that was first introduced to us in chapter 7 here of Nehemiah, verses 4 and 5. Now, Jerusalem was clearly underpopulated and consisted almost entirely of leadership of the people. In other words, there's just the leaders here. And the solution to this problem was going to be to have 1/10 of the population of all these other towns to come and live in Jerusalem. But how do they pick them? Well, they chose them by casting lots. Now, this is a practice that was very common in the Old Testament and even into the New Testament times in Acts chapter 1 that we're going to read about later. Wow, this was a burden for those that were selected because they were going to have to uproot their whole family. It wasn't that they just selected this one dude to come and move. They select that one dude and then his whole family comes with him to come and live in Jerusalem, not just the one guy, right? So they also have some that volunteered. Now, it's not really clear here whether the volunteers were in addition to those that were chosen by lot or if they're included in these numbers. But to all you numbers guys, remember that this is a representative sample. This is not an all-exhaustive historical document showing the total number to the T. So don't get caught up in the numbers so much here. Because if you take a comparison of the list here in chapter 11 with that in First Chronicles chapter 9, along with the census list in Ezra 2 and in Nehemiah 7, basically this list here is going to clearly be just a representative. The whole purpose of this list is to demonstrate that a representative cross-section of the nation was now living in the holy city. That's it. The numbers really don't matter. So people like me that are numbers guys, you got to set that aside and look at this as this is just a representative sample, not a full exhaustive list of people. I get caught up in that stuff. So the towns are no different. If you think about this list of towns in verses 25 through 36 to the end here, the towns that were very far beyond the borders of Judah are mentioned in this list, yet towns that were referred to in Ezra are not mentioned here, including Bethlehem and Mizpah and Gibeon and Jericho. So when I see things like that, I'm like, well, that's weird. Why did this book mention these towns, but this book doesn't, and it mentions different towns? Well, there's a reason for that too. In general, the towns that are listed for Judah, they were south of Jerusalem. And in general, those towns that were listed for the Benjamin tribe here were northwest of Jerusalem. And why is it? Why were they listed this way? Well, one solution and the most likely answer to this is that the list is of those towns that were not destroyed by the Babylonians in the 6th century. We get all these names of all these towns that were destroyed, but now we're seeing the list of the towns that were not destroyed and their people whose inhabitants remain intact in their lands. So that's the list that we see here, just if you're looking for that historical significance. Now we're going to move on to chapter 12. So in chapter 12, the first section, verses 1 through 26, it consists of temple personnel, and it is a supplementary list. It's kind of an add-on to the repopulation list of chapter 11. And these lists, again, were representative of the situation a generation after Zerubbabel and Jeshua. So it's kind of an add-on, addendum, a representative as well. It's not fully exhaustive. And some of the names that are even listed here aren't even individual names. They're names of families as opposed to individuals. So if you're looking for numbers, you're not going to find it here. You're going to have to dig into other historical documentation to find that. Now we get to chapter 12, verses 27 through 43. And this is the grand finale, guys. This is the grand finale of Nehemiah's ministry. And it took place with this joyous dedication of the rebuilt wall around Jerusalem. A procession started where all the leaders and the people, they were going up on top of the wall, and they were lining up to go. And as the first group goes up, they go to the right. The second group comes up and they go to the left. And who's leading this whole procession? Nehemiah put it together, but who's leading it? Ezra the scribe is leading this procession. So they approach from the west side of the Jerusalem wall, and they get up on the wall, probably around one of the gates. The first group goes to the right, which would be south. The next group goes left, which will be north, and they all go around the whole wall. Now you got to keep in mind, this wall is probably like 9 feet wide, so they can probably fit 2 or 3 people abreast, comfortably walking easily, and line up, and they fill this whole wall up, and they all meet right up at the center at the temple. The two processions come together and meet at the house of God, the temple, in verses 40 through 43. And Nehemiah acknowledged God as the source of their great joy. And verse 43 says, on that day they offered great sacrifices and rejoiced because God had given them great joy. The men, the women, and children also celebrated, and Jerusalem's rejoicing was heard far away. I'm giving this image of standing on a hill looking down at Jerusalem and seeing this wall just full of people and everybody just having a great and wonderful time and raising their hands in joyous celebration of their accomplishments and giving praise to God for it. And I just love it. Now we get to chapter 13. Ba-da-dun-dun-dun. And chapter 13 is Nehemiah's further reforms. So Nehemiah leaves. Keep this in mind. He leaves around, let's see, it was the 32nd year of King Artaxerxes' reign. So this would have given Nehemiah about 12 years of living in Jerusalem. And then remember, he told the king that he was only going to be gone for a certain period of time. So when his period of time was up, he goes back to the king like he said he was going to do. While he was gone, this priest Eliashib had been put in charge of the storerooms of the house of God, and he happened to be a relative of Tobiah. You remember Tobiah, the bad guy from the previous chapters, right? Well, he basically had this large room that was supposed to be for storing the offerings, that tenth of everything that you give to the offering, so that offering goes to take care of the Levites, all that stuff that goes to them. Well, he took that room away, put Tobiah in it. So, and while all this was happening, Nehemiah wasn't here. He was gone. So when Nehemiah finds out about this, that there were some evil things going on in Jerusalem, he asked the king for a leave of absence so he could go to Jerusalem and take care of this. So this would be his second stint. He returns as the governor of Jerusalem at this point again, and he discovers what Eliashib had done. He goes and he kicks all of Tobiah's stuff out, and he throws him out of the room, and he had all these articles of the house of God restored there, and he realized that not only had they kicked out and moved all of the stuff that was meant for the Levites out, they quit collecting it for the Levites as well. So the Levites, guess what they did? They left. Why'd they leave? Because they weren't getting paid anymore. If you work a job and you've been working at a job for 12, 13, 15 years, and your boss said, look, we need you to keep working here, but we're not going to pay you anymore, would you stay? Absolutely not. That's what happened to the Levites, essentially. So they left. They went back home to their own fields so they could actually make a living for themselves and live, because they were going to starve to death otherwise. So Nehemiah rebuked them, said, why has the house of God been neglected? Essentially, they just quit paying their preachers and said, look, y'all keep preaching, y'all keep doing this job, but we ain't going to pay you. Well, that ain't how life works. So he goes and he gathers all the Levites back together and the singers, and he gets them back to their stations and posts. And then all of Judah brought a tenth of all of the stuff and gave it back into the storehouse. And then he appointed treasurers to oversee this. Essentially, the treasurers, who would they be in your church? They could be deacons. Some churches call them deacons. Some churches call them treasurers. Some churches call them the finance committee. That's what he did. These were people that were responsible for the distribution of this stuff and the stewardship of the church, or the stewardship of, at this point, their entire city. And they had to be trustworthy, and they had to have some sort of system of accountability put in place. And that's what Nehemiah is doing here. So he also sees people that were working on the Sabbath and selling things on the Sabbath, and including buggy loads bringing carts in of stuff, of wines and grapes and figs and all of this stuff, and goods were being bought and sold in Jerusalem on Sabbath day. So he's like, I warned you guys against selling food on that day. So he rebuked the nobles of Judah for allowing this to happen. He said, what is this evil that you are doing, profaning the Sabbath day? Didn't your ancestors do the same thing so that our God brought all this disaster on us? And the city, that's why they got destroyed, because they weren't observing the Sabbath. They were worshiping other gods. And here they go again. How many times has this happened? Every time. So he comes in and orders that the gates be completely closed on the Sabbath day and not opened until midnight after the Sabbath day. So there you are. The whole town is closed. So all these merchants, they're still coming, and what do? They get the gates closed, so they just sit there and camp out in front of the gate and wait for the gates to open the next day. Well, guess what? That does not sit well with Nehemiah either, because that's just temptation laying right outside the door. Isn't that what that is? It's a symbol of temptation. It's just outside. All you got to do is just go out the door, get what you need, and come back in, and you're breaking the rules. You're breaking the law. Temptation is right there outside their door. Nehemiah's like, look, why are y'all camping in front of this wall? If you do it again, I'm going to come out and I'm going to lay hands on you. That don't mean he's going to go out there and he's going to pray for you. No, that means he's going to go out there and lay hands on you. That kind of laying of hands on you. Why are you doing this? So it didn't take long before they got the message, and they did not come again. So you're probably thinking to yourself at this point, John, didn't you just tell me in a video the other day that it's okay to go out and eat, and it's okay to buy some food and stuff on the Sabbath day or on Sunday? Didn't you just tell me that's okay? Yeah, kind of did. But here's the story. It's okay to go out and eat on Sunday. That's not the point. The point of this was that you have to set aside time for God in your life. And Chic-fil-A does it. They set aside time for God. As a matter of fact, it's on Sunday. And how many times have you gone shopping in the afternoon on a Sunday afternoon after church? Let's just go to the mall. We'll ride around the mall, and you get hungry and like, oh, look at Chick-fil-A. Let's go over to Chick-fil-A. And you circle the parking lot and realize you're the only car in the parking lot circling around. Don't lie. You know you done it because they closed on Sunday. Well, actually, Sunday, if you think about it and you look at all the biblical symbols and signs, is not even the Sabbath day. Actually, the Sabbath day on our calendar would be the seventh day, which is Saturday, and the root for Saturday is Sabbat, which means Sabbath or day of rest. So yeah, it's okay to go out to eat on Sunday, because Sunday technically ain't the Sabbath day, biblically speaking. It's Saturday, but that's neither here nor there. The point of this is not what day should everything be shut down, because we don't live in Jerusalem right now. We don't live in a city that is almost 100%, 99% plus of one religion. We live in the United States, where there are plenty of religions. There's all kinds of different religions here, and we're not the predominant religion either. As a matter of fact, we're probably under 30% at this point. We're a diminishing group in the United States. The point is that we set aside time for God in our lives every single week. What day of the week do you set aside as a day of rest, Sabbath, and you only worship? Well, for most Christians, it's Sunday. Now, for ministry families, a lot of times it's Saturday or the actual Sabbath, because on Sunday we do lots of work. Ministry families, we get up early in the morning, 5 o'clock in the morning. We're going and we're teaching and we're preaching, and then we're going to Sunday schools and we're teaching and we're preaching, and then we're going to another service and we're teaching and we're preaching, and then we might go out to eat. But then we come back and there's committee meetings to be gone to. Sometimes there's evening services and prayer services that's got to be done. There's nursing homes that's got to be visited. There's all kinds of stuff that's got to be done. All kinds of work that's got to be done on Sunday when you're in a ministry family. So what day of the week do we structure around our lives? So the key here is this. Here is the key to it all when it comes to Nehemiah. The point is to reorganize your life around God, not reorganize God around your life. Did you catch that? Let me say it again. You need to reorganize your life around God, not God around your life. Let me explain that for a minute. I have a day job, right? I don't make money off of these videos. This is just, the point of these videos was just to have a church Bible study. The intention was to have 4 or 5 people that said they wanted to do this. So we got together, we started doing these videos, and it kind of snowballed a little bit. Some of these videos have gotten over 1,000 views now, but I don't make money off of these videos. I have a day job. Now, if I go to my day job, when I first started it, I said, look, Sunday I can't work. I need 2 days off a week. Sunday can't be, I can't work on Sundays because I'm doing stuff with church. So whatever that other day off is I get, which was typically Saturday, that's my Sabbath day, right? My Sunday is for working for church, and the other day off is my Sabbath day. That's how I structured it. Well, I worked there about 10 months, and when I'd gotten hired, I put down I was unavailable on Sundays. About 10 months later, they said, listen, we need you to work on Sunday. And I said, well, here's the deal. I put down that I was unavailable on Sundays, and I was hired under the terms that you would not ask me to work on Sundays. Well, management changed. A new manager came in, and they said, you have to work on Sundays. I said, okay. You go ahead, you schedule me on Sundays, but the problem with that is I'm going to be calling in every Sunday, and you're going to have to write me up every Sunday for not coming to work, because the deal was I don't work on Sundays, and I'm not going to work on Sundays because my God is more important than this job, just so you know that. And you'll have to write me up every Sunday, and when I reach the maximum write-offs, you'll have to fire me if that's what you want to do. I'm not going to come in on Sundays. I will not be here. It was in the terms of me being hired, and it was understood at that point that you would not ask me to do this, and now here you are asking me to do this. Well, long story short, they changed their mind. Now I go in to work on Saturdays once a month as opposed to Sundays. So there was some, had to shift my Sabbath day on those weeks though. Well, instead of having a Sabbath on Saturday, like when I have a full weekend, I work on Saturday, I'm off on Sunday to do my church stuff, and then maybe I take a Wednesday, and that becomes my Sabbath at that point. The point is, reorganize your life around God, and don't let people reorganize God around your life, around their lives either. So that's what I got for you on that. Psalms. This is it, the last Psalm, Psalm 126. In the CSB, this is titled Zion's Restoration. And the New King James Version titles this A Joyful Return to Zion. Now, the very first verse says, when the Lord restored the fortunes of Zion, we were like those who dreamed. Now, this is a fulfillment of all of the things that were going on in the Old Testament. The future that is that dreamer. The dreamer is a person that's always looking to the future, always thinking about how things could be. Well, this was the fulfillment. All those could be's are now. They are happening. They are. The could be's are. That's what that means right there. The fulfillment was then. It was right now for them. In verse 5, those who sow in tears will reap with shouts of joy. Those who want, though one goes along weeping, carrying a bag of seed, he will surely come back with shouts of joy carrying his sheaves. You know that old saying that you reap what you sow? Well, that's kind of what this is talking about here. It's talking about work hard, persevere, organize your life around God, and then great things are going to happen in your future. It's okay to dream. I hope this has helped you with your studies. If it has, click that like button, subscribe button. Of course, click the little jingle bell so you can get notified the next time I upload a video, which will be tomorrow for another episode of the Bible in 1 Year with the Preacher's Husband. And we'll see you then.